Greetings, metallurgists. Marty Worm here from Heavy Metallurgy with another review. This time I'm doing a power trio review. I've been kind of getting the impression that over the years, the U.S. market, the U.S. metalheads just don't care so much about power metal, or they think it's cheesy. Well, I guess if it's going to take a fat old guy in a Motorhead t-shirt to try to turn you on to what I think is some pretty solid power metal, then mission accepted. Stick around and we're going to get into these records. All right, before I get into breaking down these three albums that I've selected for this review, I do want to acknowledge that there is several different factions within the power metal world. There's the obvious band that might be a little bit more traditional, heavy metal inspired, maybe working in a bit of prog. Moving forward, there's an obvious sense of seriousness to their music. And then there are other bands that I think kind of spoil it for the whole bunch for a lot of you. And that are the bands that, they might have dudes wearing capes, dress up like Marvel superheroes. I'm looking at you, Glory Hammer, Angus McSix, stuff like that. And that kind of level of cheese, and yes, it is incredibly cheesy. As a fan of some of that stuff, I am going to acknowledge the fact that, yes, it's infinitely cheesy. But I think it kind of clouds some of you that do enjoy heavy metal. It kind of clouds your opinion on it. And I completely understand that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong, because it is definitely cheesy. But I've worked through that over the years in wanting to feel a little bit more attached to something upbeat, something fun to listen to. And ultimately, if you can look past the way it looks and listen to the music, yeah, the cheese still permeates into that music as well. But there's always some tracks on there that are very well structured, very true to heavy metal, and fun. But I think I've got some bands here selected tonight that might be a step away from that ultra cheesy aesthetic. Hopefully might turn you on to something new. So stick around, let's find out what we got here. First up is Throne of Thorns, Converging Parallel Worlds. This came out on February 16th on Rock of Angels Records. For those of you who have never heard of this band, they're brand new. Throne of Thorns is a new Belgian metal band featuring members from Ostrogoth, Reject the Sickness, and Guilty as Charged. They are a vibrant mix of heavy, power, and progressive metal with colorful and at times awe-inspiring guitar work, offset and empowered by lush synth textures. After a brief soundtrack-inspired instrumental intro, we fire off the album with Stormmaker. Right away, a proggy synth melody line introduces the song before the guitars come in and match the busy, though memorable line note for note. After this, the guitars rise to the forefront, pushed forward by speedy double bass work. The keyboards then focus on filling the background with dense atmosphere, yet do on occasion bubble to the surface to rip out a solo or brief electric piano-styled melody line. Though I'm typically not a fan of keyboards in the lead role when it comes to metal music, Throne of Thorns are masters in incorporating this instrument to step up for whatever level the song needs. The mix between instruments is exciting and masterful, as the weight and agility of the guitars always carry the song through hook-laden tracks that never lose sight of metal. Stormmaker is a fantastically written and layered track that perfectly demonstrates what is to come on this album. Next up is Atomic Retribution. This is perhaps the most emotionally charged and my favorite track on the album, with its somber melody lines and vocalist Josie Hendrix's equally powerful accentuation of this sad yet heavy musical statement. His vocals are so heartfelt as he centers his performance on a mid-range croon. Don't expect soaring superhuman vocal antics on this album, though I like that style as well, of course. Just very passionate singing that feels human. Josie has the talent to make you feel every word. There's a strong power metal influence on this track, thanks to driving double bass and fantastic dueling guitar work that adorns the main riff with color and the solos with tasteful yet playful flair. The bridge and solo breaks off into a very proggy time signature to demonstrate how Throne of Thorns is eager and comfortable to incorporate multiple subgenres in with their vibrant form of heavy metal. It's a great song.
Attacking me, the doomless command, the servants survive. Turn to the light, to the sound of obscure.
Moving to the fourth track on the album, Black Diamond is yet another impressively composed song. What truly shines through this track and all the others is the absolutely inspired and tasteful guitar work. Both players can shred, but often keep their runs steeped in emotion, even interacting with the vocals during the verse riffs. This instance of placement seems very calculated and really adds to the emotional impact Josie is highlighting in this music with his excellent vocals. Yet another powerful song.
Fighting for freedom,
the remainder of Converging Parallel Worlds continues to empower the listener with top tier and serious power metal, and will definitely be one of my favorites for the end of the year. It's going to be up there. I've listened to this a lot. Get it. It's a great record. All right, next up is Sonata Arctica, Clear Cold Beyond. It came out March 8th on Atomic Fire Records. With 25 years of power metal and now 14 full-length albums behind them, Finland's Sonata Arctica return with Clear Cold Beyond, and it sounds like they have something to prove as they attempt to reclaim a youthful fire on this album. Stylistically, this band can easily be lumped into the European power style spearheaded by Keeper's era of Halloween. Unrelenting double bass, upbeat melodies, a confident, clean singer. What sets them apart on this album is that instead of the guitars taking center stage for all solo embellishments, keyboards are the prevailing instrument. Guitars largely accompany the drums with an unending crunch, where synth lines either accompany the occasional guitar solo or most frequently introduce most of the melody lines that go over the guitars and pull off neoclassical solos on their own. Having the synth work propped up so far forward to me gives this album a playful, if not show-tuney, or even the occasional under the circus big top vibe. Some like this type of element in their power metal, and even though there are some good tracks on this album, I struggle with Sonata Arctica's choices on Clear Cold Beyond. Looking back at reviews on their catalog featured on the Metal Archives, it seems to me that this band was really hoping for a win on this album. Did they get there? I don't know, let's dig in. Okay, the first track, First in Line, fires off the album with classical European power metal. Driving double bass hurls us into the fire, along with a very German-sounding twin guitar line. Vocalist and keyboard player Tony Cato's style is quite tuneful as he stays firmly in key while accompanying the stripped-down guitar riffs with his synth lines. Honestly, I think he's a solid singer. Definitely on point throughout the album, but for me, there's a fragility to his style that fails to give the top end of their sound the power it's begging for. To my ears anyway. Having said that, his performance took me quite a few spins to work around and eventually accept. He sounds particularly inspired in the rapid-fire delivery of the lyrics in the pre-chorus and sounding even a bit triumphant on the chorus. Ultimately, this is a solid opener for Clear Cold Beyond and perhaps the best track on the album.
every generation's every book, every print is getting wrong on earth, but we can save this world if we pull the tides over.
California is next and is right in league with the leadoff track. It's upbeat and energetic, pushed ever forward by Tommy Portimo's steady double bass work. Expect a catchy chorus, exactly how I like it so that the track sticks in my head, but the synth breakdown after the solo and the frail tone that was chosen does lay on the circus vibe a bit too much for my liking.
Smiles and lies, you climb the walls to every heart, far apart. The seer's thousand faces share a name, a thousand tales of...
Shahamat begins with some nice choral accompaniment, and they include elements of the choir throughout the song for some excellent variety. It's a heavier track that goes into some interesting directions. The slower segment of music in the center of the track, along with Tony's more soulful approach, offers a nice shot of emotion. The synth work fits here, but I'm again unsure if the actual sounds chosen for the instruments were appropriate. A more organic or vibrant tone would have added some much needed depth to this material.
Snow falls, the frozen
The tracks Cure for Everything and Angel Defiled, with its cool riff and guitar work, keep me interested. Then a pseudo-power ballad comes in called The Best Things, and other more subdued tracks like Teardrops and the title track allow the fragile side of this band to creep back in. I understand the need to cultivate dynamics and offer the listener more of a journey when spending time with an album, but these elements draw more attention to the things about Tony's vocals that bug me and those video game tinged synth sounds. Clear Cold Beyond has a consistent and solid production, although it is a bit thin, I'm not going to lie. But in spite of the obvious European power metal influence, Sonata Arctica manages to possess their own sound, which is quite a feat in this genre. But for me, the album is pretty average in its overall presentation. Some good songs on the front end, some lower tier songs mixed in throughout. If you're a power metal fiend, I'd imagine you're less bothered by these things than I am. But for me, Clear Cold Beyond is just decent. All right, in closing, we're going to take a look at Tyr, Battle Ballads. This came out on April 12th on Metal Blade Records. Hailing from Denmark, Tyr is a quartet that appears to focus on the heavier end of power metal. Battle Ballads is the band's 9th full-length album, and the first one I've paid more attention to than 2 tracks over the years. There is subtle synth work used to fill in the cracks between guitar riffs and provide depth, but the band focuses exclusively on chugging guitar work, folk-inspired melodies, and tasteful solos to carry their countrymen into war. Harry Johansson's vocal style is melodically gifted, but mainly mid-ranged and sturdy. Think of a more melodic Joachim from Sabaton, and you have a workable starting point. In fact, there is a definite Sabaton comfort zone that Tyr could effortlessly fit within, but they are far more folk-inspired in their melodic hook lines. The album starts off with the track Hammered, with a full and deep production, allowing triumphant guitar lines to cascade into driving double bass and head-bangable verse lines. Henry's vocals add power to these verse and choruses without overdoing it with vocal acrobatics. He's a good singer with a lot of meaty feeling in his performance, and it suits the might rising out of Battle Ballads. It's a great start.
Cast a dark shade, whether a mindful maker or a bloody breaker, he's long gone now, yet somehow.
Unwandered Ways is up next, and it builds upon the heavy foundation with playful folk melody lines that piles on the replayability of this track for me. It's a fantastic hook that flows into the equally memorable chorus. There is a sing-along quality to this and other tracks on the album, which is exactly what you want in the live theater. It also demonstrates more of a culturally aware songwriting element that effortlessly fits within their sound and acts to give them something special to help them stand out when a lot of their other characteristics may seem sonically familiar.
Resentment of love, the unbounded birds, black and beating on the path. Unwandered ways, wait, outside the gate, lost.
Dragons Never Dies up next and starts off again with a melodic keyboard line in the chorus, which is a common songwriting technique, especially in power metal, but works very well when the chorus eventually hits later in the song with gang vocals and heavy guitars filling in the foundation. I love the choir background chanting and this overall commercially structured track. In spite of the obvious commercial formula, Tyr keeps everything heavy and well considered, never fully embracing the cheese that can sip into this musical style. I'm going to butcher some names here. It's all in a language I don't speak, but Torkis Dotur is the ballad on the album, but acts more as an epic folk acoustic song. Think about the band Monogarm when I mention this. Sounds like a group of Vikings around a fire singing hymns to the gods in preparation for war. Again, this gives them more of a wandering through the ancient times sense of authenticity. It is also the first song on the album in another language, which they continue with on the follow-up and much heavier track, Velkomner Forjoingar. Nailed it. Within this style, Henry removes some of the grit from his vocals for both of these tracks, and even though it's harder for me to relate to the vocal lines as an English-only speaker, it works well within Tyr's musical framework. Battle Ballads is a fun and very well-produced album that offers up the colorful elements we've come to enjoy in modern heavy metal, all the while keeping it heavy so as not to scare away any of you more sympathetic death metal heads that want to break from your incantation albums. It happens on occasion. If you're into bands like Windrose and Sabaton, Tyr fits quite comfortably within that roster while maintaining their own identity. So there you have it. Kind of a quick overview of 3 albums. I've been kind of working on this for a while now, and sorry that some of these might be a little older, but we're all within the year, and I kind of want to start this power trio segment out. I'm going to be definitely revisiting it later as the year goes on, but until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you find it somewhat useful. And if you do enjoy this review, myself and my colleagues here on Heavy Metallurgy, we're trying to get these out for you every week. So go check out our archive. Also, we have live streams that we do every week as well on Wednesday and on Friday. So thank you for your support. Share this with your friends. Help us spread the word. We appreciate you. Until next time, cheers.
Legend